The moment Chase raised his glass and said, "To new beginnings," I knew mine was ending. The rooftop shimmered under soft amber lights, sunset slashing gold across the Boise skyline. Laughter clinked against crystal. Linen napkins fluttered, every detail choreographed to look like gratitude, but it felt like staging. Chase Maddox stood center stage, the wind catching his perfect hair just enough. "Let's celebrate our strongest quarter yet," he beamed, eyes scanning the executive circle. "Leadership like this deserves recognition." He raised his glass. So did everyone else. Mine stayed on the table. A server in black stepped behind me. No eye contact, just a slight nod and a velvet envelope placed neatly on my charger. Crimson wax seal. Summit Edge insignia pressed dead center. I didn't touch it. Beside me, Camille leaned in, whispering, "That new project bonus?" I managed a half smile. Something like that. I knew better. I slid a fingernail under the wax. The seal cracked louder than it should have. Inside, one page, no letterhead, no signature, just 3 lines. "Effective immediately, your position has been dissolved due to strategic restructuring. We thank you for your service." Strategic, not personal. No acknowledgement of the funeral, no mention of my father. 3 days, that's all I took. Chase caught my eye from across the table, glass still raised. Smiling, like this was a promotion. My fingers tightened around the paper. I pressed it flat. The edges curled anyway. I looked down the table. Ezra was laughing at something Jared said. Tasha was checking her phone. No one else had an envelope. Just me. One of the junior managers across the circle began a toast. "To growth." The word hung there. I set the envelope back down, face up. Let them see it. Let them guess. No one asked. No one noticed. Except for the wine. Still full. Still untouched. Chase made his way over eventually, sliding into the seat beside mine. He didn't look at me, just poured himself more Pinot. "Wish it could have come from me directly," he murmured, voice smooth. But the board moved fast. I turned my head. "You approved my bereavement leave last week." "I did," he said, swirling his glass. "But this quarter's targets were 12% over projection," I finished. "My team led every metric, including retention." His smile twitched. "Business moves fast, Sloane. Adaptability is key." I picked up the envelope again, brushing my thumb across the red seal. "Is this what adaptability looks like now?" He didn't answer. Instead, he clinked his glass against mine. My hand never moved. The chime of crystal hitting crystal rang hollow. Sunset burned behind him, casting his silhouette in shadow. My wine glass caught the light, trembling from the wind. Or maybe something else. I stood. He looked up, startled. I didn't blink. The silence did the rest. I folded the envelope once, crisp, slipped it into my clutch, lifted my chair gently, placed it back under the table. Camille glanced up. "You're leaving?" I met her eyes. "Looks like it." Then I turned toward the elevator, heels clicking soft against the rooftop tiles, the city yawning open below. I didn't drink the wine. I left the glass full and walked out without a word. 3 days to bury my father. That's all it took for them to bury my career. The Boise office smelled like fresh carpet and burnt coffee. Too quiet for 7 a.m., too sterile for goodbye. I swiped my badge one last time. It clicked green. That wouldn't last long. The overhead lights buzzed to life, the hum steady like a warning. I walked past the framed quote in the lobby. "Driven by people powered by vision." I didn't laugh, but I could have. My desk sat untouched. No one had bothered to box it up. I guess they thought I'd come back. Calm. I sat. The chair creaked like it remembered me. The computer screen flickered on. I logged in. No lockout yet. The email still sat open. "Effective immediately. Failure to maintain operational presence. Strategic needs." I snapped a photo of the screen, forwarded it to my personal account with the subject line, "Proof of decency." A blinking alert popped up. "Password reset scheduled for noon." Noted. I leaned down, pulled the cardboard box from beneath the desk. It was soft around the corners, the tape peeling. Still had my name scribbled in black Sharpie from my last office move. back when growth meant something. I placed the photo frame inside first. Our team at last year's retreat, half of them mid-laugh, Jared blinking, Camille holding a margarita. I remembered what I said before that picture. We make it look easy. Then came the thank you notes. 7 of them, each folded neatly, paper creased, but ink still bold. I read none of them. The cactus came last. Its ceramic pot was cracked from the move last winter. The soil was dry, pulled back from the edge like it was shrinking from something, but the plant was still alive. Tiny, resilient, still green. I wrapped it in the corner of an old conference agenda. Q2 budget forecast, Mercer. Full circle. I heard him before I saw him. "Didn't expect you in so early," Dan said, appearing at my shoulder like smoke. Tie already loosened, eyes calculating. "I didn't expect the email," I replied, not turning around. He scratched his chin, pretending this was normal. "If you'd waited until the end of the quarter, maybe we could have handled it differently." "You mean quieter?" He didn't answer, just nodded at the box. "I hope you'll keep this professional, Sloane." I stood, sealing the top with a single piece of tape. "I always was." Dan shifted his weight. "This isn't personal." "No," I said, picking up the box. "That's what makes it worse." I passed Marla in HR on the way out. Her smile was tight, her eyes apologetic. "If there's anything you need—" "There won't be." Elevator doors opened. I stepped in. Behind me, Summit Edge's polished floors reflected back the lights, the silence, the space I'd leave behind. I didn't cry, I didn't plead, I didn't explain. But before the doors closed, I whispered, "Check the logs before noon, Dan." They expected silence. They got it, but not the kind they planned for. My father taught me that the rocks don't move. The river does. The current licked at my boots, slow but steady, tugging like it wanted something from me. I stood knee-deep in the Boise River, same bend where Dad used to cast his line before sunrise, steam curling off the water, silence thick with thought. He called it the still hour. He said, "That's when you listen." The trees were turning now, amber edges brushing the sky, reflections trembling in the surface. I didn't bring a rod, just stood, just breathed, no emails, no crystal toasts, no velvet lies. Just me, the cold water, and the words still ringing in my head. Strategic realignment. They called it business. I called it cowardice. My father's voice echoed in the current. "You don't fight the river, Sloane. You anchor down. Let it pass." So I did. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. Once, twice, 3 times in quick succession. I pulled it out. Screen glowing. "Jason, we need to talk. Urgent." Below that, "Camille, I'm furious. Are you okay?" Then, "Ezra, tell me this is a joke." I scrolled. 7 messages. All from my team. I didn't answer. Not yet. Another message popped up, this time from a number I hadn't saved but knew well. Hank Fleming. "Heard what happened. Let's talk. You still have that edge." My lips twitched. Not quite a smile, but something close. Hank was the CEO of Vertex Transport Systems. We'd met once at a logistics summit last fall. He remembered people others forgot. He'd tried to recruit me before. I'd said I was loyal. Now, loyalty had a timestamp. Apparently, it expired 3 days after my father died. I left the river just as the sun broke the horizon, casting gold across the surface like a promise. The rocks didn't move, but the river never stopped. Back in my car, I stared at the messages again. So many questions, none of them mine. That night, I called Hank. "Is now a bad time?" he asked, voice warm, no small talk. "Depends," I said, sitting on my living room floor, cactus on the windowsill behind me, leaves catching the light. "I want you," he said, direct. "Vertex is scaling, Pacific Northwest Division. I need someone who knows chaos and control." "Sounds like you've been watching Summit Edge." "I've been watching you." Silence stretched. Then I said, "What about non-compete?" "We've read it. It's laughable, and we'll back you." Another beat passed. I didn't thank him. I didn't jump. Instead, I asked, "Tell me about the team you need." The day I left, I took nothing, except the system they didn't understand. 3 days after the rooftop dinner, my phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. Veronica. Client portal's glitching. Can't pull Q3 analytics. Can you... Wait, you're not here. I didn't respond. At 6:51, another came in. Ezra. Trying to run forecast model. Mercer Core just looped back to compliance default. Did you change something before you left? I stared at the message. No anger, no alarm, just curiosity. The answer was simple. Number I hadn't changed a thing. They had. They removed the architect and assumed the walls would hold. Summit Edge ran on a 3-tiered logistics framework, routing logic, adaptive risk flags, and a proprietary sync engine I built over 4 years. Chase called it the system. But internally, it was Mercer Stack, my code, my mapping, my naming conventions. I never booby-trapped it, never encrypted it, never even password-locked the folders. But I designed it, which meant only I understood where the pipes led when pressure cracked the joints. Somewhere in Summit's basement server room, login screens blinked. Access denied. They weren't broken, just misaligned. In their rush to restructure, they rerouted permissions through Dan's admin credentials. But Dan had never opened the backend himself. He'd asked. I'd always handled it. He forgot to ask this time. I powered up my laptop, not the work one. Mine. The good one. On the desktop sat a printed network diagram, nodes mapped in soft grays. One node pulsed red at the center. MERCERCORE. A single tap could kill it. I didn't tap. I just watched it hum. The USB next to me, black metal engraved SM, stayed untouched. By 8:30, I was sitting in the office of Vincent Torres, employment attorney and former federal litigator. Walnut desk, Harvard diploma, eyes sharp enough to cut through HR policy. He read the non-compete once. Then again. 6-month industry exclusion, he muttered. 300-mile radius. After firing you for attending a funeral. He looked up. Enforceable? I asked. Laughable, he replied. They'd have to prove ongoing harm. But you were terminated. And this clause? He circled a line. Voidable on grounds of bad faith and unbalanced restriction. It's written like they assumed you wouldn't question it. I didn't smile, but I leaned back. He slid the document toward me. You're clear to work. If they push it, we'll push harder. I left his office with the printout in my bag and a quiet certainty in my gut. Not anger, not revenge. Just a clock ticking down in the background of everything I touched. Back home, I opened my laptop again. Slack messages still pinged. Veronica, Wilson account rep asking where Q4 planning sheets are stored. Do you remember the path? I did. I closed the lid. I didn't pull the plug. I just stopped answering their calls. They asked what they could do. I told them. Apply. That was all. The sky threatened rain, but inside the cafe it was all golden glow and whispered tension. Camille arrived first, eyes tired but determined. Then Jason, then Ezra. Veronica came in last, umbrella dripping, hair wild, fire in her step. We didn't hug. We weren't that kind of team. But they all sat down like they never left my orbit. No one ordered anything for 10 minutes. Just fingers circling mugs, eyes flicking toward the windows, like they expected someone from Summit Edge to walk in and report us. They're scrambling, Jason said finally. Dan's holding meetings without notes. He called Mercer Core the red folder thing. I didn't react. Wilson's asking where Q4 prep went, Ezra added. Veronica's name is still on the contract. They want answers. They won't get them, Veronica said, voice low. At least not from me. Camille slid a stack of paper across the table. Clean edges, glossy resumes, one for each of them. My chest tightened. What's this? Our applications, she said. To Vertex. You already applied? Veronica leaned forward. Yesterday, before we texted you. I blinked. I didn't ask you to do that. No, Jason said. You didn't have to. They were quiet a moment. The sound of spoons stirring cream into coffee filled the gap. I would have left either way, Camille said. But if you're building something again, I want in. I studied their faces. These were the same people who'd pulled all-nighters with me before the Newbrook merger, who built department workflows from scratch, who stayed after hours to fix client-side bugs we didn't cause. And now, they were ready to burn the bridge they were still standing on. Why take the risk? I asked. Ezra shrugged. Because if they'd do it to you, they'd do it to any of us. Camille nodded. We're not scared of losing our jobs. We're scared of becoming like them. Veronica pulled out her phone, screen tilted toward me. A message from HR. Your reassignment meeting is scheduled for Monday. We appreciate your flexibility during this transition. They think I'm still loyal, she said. I'm not. I leaned back in my chair, watching rain streak the glass. The storm hadn't started yet, but it would. And when it landed, it wouldn't just be me at the center. I looked at them, 7 hands around coffee mugs, steady, unwavering. I hadn't built a team. I'd built a storm, and it was about to land. Summit Edge lost 1 person quietly. They didn't expect to lose 7 in one day. The call came at 7:42 a.m. Sloane, this is Paula Cross. We need to talk. Her voice was strained, clipped at the edges. Not frantic yet, but close. I watched the sunrise bounce off the windows of Vertex's headquarters, the glass catching fire from the sky. My new office still smelled like fresh paint and clean ambition. I didn't answer right away. Are you aware, Paula continued, that your former team all submitted resignations this morning? I swiveled in my chair, cactus on the windowsill behind me, now backlit and alive. They didn't tell me, I said, but I'm not surprised. That's 7 resignations, Sloane, all from the same department, effective immediately. I heard her typing in the background, clicks sharper than her tone. Client files are inaccessible, she went on. Wilson's asking questions. Hernandez wants a call. Half the Q4 prep is missing or mislabeled. Sounds like a system issue, I said. She exhaled. This isn't funny. I didn't laugh. You knew this would happen. I stayed silent. I want to be clear, she said slowly. I had no knowledge of your termination. None. Chase never brought it to me. I was in Seattle for the conference. This was done behind my back. I let the silence do its job. Sloane, I would never have approved it. That's between you and Chase. More typing. The sound of glass doors opening, slamming shut. People moving too fast down 2 narrow hallways. Is this retaliation? She asked. No, I said. It's gravity. Another pause. I imagined her screen, emails blinking like emergency lights. 7 notices. Same timestamp, same language. Effective immediately. No transition support. No further comment. I don't understand how this got so bad, so fast, she muttered. I did. They'd treated people like gears, replaceable. Forgetting gears stop turning when the engineer walks away. They respected you, she added, quieter now. Still do. But this? It's scorched earth. No, I corrected, eyes on the cactus. This is what happens when you ignore the warning signs. A glass door shut somewhere behind her. A voice called out. Another file missing. Another meeting postponed. She sounded tired now. Is Chase talking to Vertex? I didn't answer that. Did you know the Wilson account flagged for transfer last night? I looked down at the printout on my desk. Wilson's new contract. My name on it this time. Maybe ask Chase why, I said, then ended the call. I stood, stretched, moved to the window. The street below buzzed with the start of someone else's Monday. For Summit Edge, the week had already ended. They thought the fire was out. Turns out, I'd only just lit the match. He walked into the room like he still owned it. Then he saw me at the head of the table. The conference room at Vertex was all glass and steel, every edge polished, every seat waiting, except mine. I was already sitting. Folder closed, hands still, breath even. Across from me, Wilson's senior rep, Cynthia Hale, flipped through the executive summary I'd prepared. Her red nail tapped the corner of page 3. This is what we needed, she murmured. Outside, the elevator dinged. Chase Maddox walked in, gray suit, tight jaw, expensive watch ticking louder than it should have. He scanned the room, stumbled, recalibrated. His eyes landed on me. I didn't move, didn't smile, just tapped the folder once. A soft thud that cut through the air. He didn't sit. Not right away. Cynthia leaned back in her chair. Oh, good, you're both here. I wasn't expecting a joint proposal. It's not, I said. Chase finally found his voice. We scheduled this meeting last week. And Vertex was invited this week, Cynthia replied, eyes never leaving mine. We're reassessing all contracts. Alignment matters. He sat. His pen clicked. Once, twice, 3 times. Then faster. I slid the folder across the table. Stamped in silver foil. Mercer. Q4. He didn't touch it. Summit Edge has always delivered on logistics, he said tightly. Cynthia flipped another page. And yet your last 2 reports had gaps. Missing trend analysis, incomplete shipment risk forecasts. Due to internal transitions, Chase replied, forcing a calm that didn't reach his eyes. I'm aware, she said. Sloane's departure was one of the more public ones. Chase's pen clicked again. I built that system, I said softly. You removed the person who knew where it breathes. His knuckles whitened around the pen. Cynthia nodded, which is why we're moving forward with Vertex. Chase opened his mouth. I spoke first. You can keep the pen, I said, rising slowly. But you lost the page. No gloating, just truth. Wilson's legal team began gathering documents. Contracts moved, eyes followed. Chase didn't. He stayed frozen, pen between his fingers, motionless now. I collected my folder, the one with the real data, the one that saved them 3/4 of fallout. Cynthia extended a hand as I passed. I'm glad you're back where you belong. I shook it, calm. So am I. The door swung shut behind me. I never looked back. He came for the account. He left with the echo of my silence. Systems don't crash all at once. They hollow out, then drop. The first sign was the silence. Not the peaceful kind. This was absence. Empty desks, forwarded calls, projects stalling mid-keystroke. Inside Summit Edge, things weren't broken yet, but they were thinning. Auto-replies trickled in like slow leaks. This user no longer exists. Out of office. Permanently. The Wilson account vanished. Then Hernandez. Then one of their Pacific suppliers sent notice. We'll follow Sloane's team. Paula opened an internal review. HR flagged irregularities in Chase's handling of my termination. Marla, bless her, sent me a message on a private line. They're unraveling. The board's asking questions Chase can't answer. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I was in motion. At Vertex, the walls buzzed with momentum. My team filled the corner war room, whiteboard crowded with names, arrows, expansion zones. New hires pending, 3 client proposals approved before lunch. Jason mapped integration logistics. Camille revamped the onboarding funnel. Veronica locked down 2 major renewals in 48 hours. Nobody asked for permission. They just built. I glanced at the cactus on my windowsill, the one that had survived the box, the cold, the fall. Its top had split slightly, a small pink bloom pushing up from the thorns. It hadn't just lived, it had adjusted. A call came in from someone I didn't expect, the board liaison from Summit Edge. I let it go to voicemail. Chase, I heard, had been called into a closed-door session that morning. HR escorted him out an hour later. Marla didn't confirm. She didn't have to. I passed a TV in the Vertex lobby, muted news scroll running at the bottom. Summit Edge shares dip following executive shakeup, client migration. I kept walking. It wasn't satisfaction I felt. It wasn't vengeance either. It was gravity. I hadn't burned the place down. I hadn't even lit a match. I just stepped away. And everything they built, on my labor, on my silence, on my systems, followed me, because I didn't dismantle the house. I just removed the load-bearing wall. She asked what it would take to come back. I told her, time travel. The voicemail came at 6:03 a.m., time-stamped just after dawn. Sloane, it's Paula. Please, call me. The voice cracked halfway through the second sentence. Summit wants to make things right. I played it twice, then deleted it. The email came an hour later. Subject line, formal offer of reinstatement. They offered my old title. A 15% raise, full back pay, a formal apology. The signature block included 3 names: Paula, the board chair, and someone from legal. They called it reinstatement. I called it recognition, 2 quarters too late. Wilson and Hernandez were already under contract with Vertex. The Pacific Pipeline was ours. Camille had just finalized another logistics deal in Oregon. Jason's restructure shaved 18% off operational waste. Our numbers spoke louder than their regrets. I didn't forward the offer, didn't reply, just printed it. The envelope came that afternoon. Heavy stock. A wax seal I didn't bother breaking. The letter inside read like surrender dressed in civility. We acknowledge the decision to terminate Ms. Mercer was mishandled, procedurally and professionally. This settlement is offered to avoid litigation. We extend our sincere apology. It was notarized. I signed, quietly. No notes, not for the payout, not for the closure, for the record. That evening, I pulled up a screenshot someone had sent me. A headline in all caps. Client exodus continues as Summit Edge leadership faces scrutiny. I saved it, not to share, just to remember. Later, I walked the Vertex floor. Lights still on. Camille laughing with a new recruit. Veronica on a late Zoom, charm weaponized. Ezra pinning a new flowchart to the whiteboard, arrows dancing like they finally made sense. My team. Still mine. I returned to my office, flicked on the desk lamp. The cactus bloomed fully now, 2 small flowers, delicate and defiant. A framed quote sat beside it, something my dad used to say: "You don't beg for dignity. You just don't give it away." The numbers were clean. The silence, sharper than applause. Some people demand apologies. Others just let the numbers speak. The cactus came home in a cardboard box, bigger, still growing. 6 months had passed since the toast, since the velvet envelope, since I left the glass full and walked away. Now? I was Executive Vice President of Operations for the Northwest Region at Vertex, corner office, 5-division oversight, full autonomy, but none of that mattered as much as the email I read that morning. Subject line: final confirmation, Wilson contract renewal. Body: proud to partner with your team again and always. Not myself. My team. Camille now led 2 full branches. Jason trained new directors. Veronica's client retention rate broke a company record. Ezra's systems model had been submitted for national certification. Nadia, Blake, Tasha, Priya, they all rose with the tide. I'd promised nothing, just showed them the kind of leadership that doesn't need applause to echo. The cactus sat on my windowsill, right where the light hit hardest. 2 blooms now, one starting to fade, another just opening. Survival wasn't the story, growth was. That afternoon I drove to the river, same bend, same rocks, same slow push of water weaving past like time refusing to stop. I stepped into the shallows, the current brushing my boots, the chill sharp but grounding. The air carried pine and memory. My father used to say this was where problems clarified themselves. You can't force the current, Sloane. You plant your feet and let it pass. He wasn't wrong. Back then, I thought revenge was fire, loud, dramatic, destructive. But this was quieter. I didn't destroy Summit Edge. I didn't need to. I made them irrelevant. I built better, led better, chose dignity over noise. And in the end, the clients followed. The team followed. Even the silence followed me. But this time, it spoke with pride. I skipped a flat stone across the surface. 3 bounces, then gone. Wind moved the trees behind me, but the moss-covered rocks stayed. They always did. Somewhere upstream, the river rushed faster. I let it, because the current can erase names. But the rocks, they leave legacy. Sometimes, the most powerful response isn't a raised voice. It's a closed door that never reopens. There's a quiet dignity in walking away without looking back, especially when the world expects you to fall apart. When you choose growth over retaliation, stillness over spectacle, you learn something most people never do. Not every fire needs to be set to be felt. Sometimes, all it takes is your absence to shift the ground beneath those who underestimated you. We're taught that strength looks like confrontation, but true power often moves in silence. through boundaries drawn, choices made, and a refusal to let someone else define your worth. That's the thing about self-respect. Once you find it, it becomes non-negotiable. And when you lead from that place, calm, clear, grounded, people follow, not out of fear, out of trust. So if you've ever been dismissed, erased, or made to feel small, remember this. Your voice isn't just in what you say. It's in what you withhold, in what you walk away from, in what you build when no one's watching. And when they finally notice the silence you left behind, let it echo. Because sometimes the legacy isn't the empire you tear down. It's the bloom that grows where they thought nothing would survive. Thank you for spending time with this story. If it stirred something in you, if you've ever sat in silence while someone underestimated your strength, just know you're not alone. Quiet power is still power, and sometimes the most unforgettable comebacks are the ones that don't make a sound, just a shift. If any part of this story felt familiar, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment if you've ever had to rebuild, step away, or rise on your own terms. And if you want more stories that honor that kind of quiet resilience, feel free to like, share, or subscribe. No pressure, just if it feels right. Until next time, take care of your roots. The bloom comes when it's ready.